Good morning, students. In the last session, we have discussed about the digestive system. Today, we are going to start a respiratory system. So, let me give an introduction and the importance of this particular system. In a cell, a number of metabolic activities will take place. To perform these metabolic activities, cells need a constant supply of energy. Cells need a constant supply of energy. So, the cells need a constant supply of energy. How the energy is made available to the cell? Once the process of digestion is completed, the end products of the digestion are carried to the cells with the help of blood. So, blood carries the end products of digestion. The end products of digestion are carried to the cell. So, these biomolecules, after entering into the cell, they are oxidized with the help of oxygen. In this process, energy will be released. That is how energy is made available to the cell. In this process, carbon dioxide is also produced. The accumulation of carbon dioxide is harmful because it changes the pH, which is very harmful for an animal. So, this carbon dioxide has to be eliminated. So, in other words, there should be a continuous supply of oxygen and elimination of carbon dioxide. So, there is an exchange of gases between the air and water, which is called as a medium, with the carbon dioxide produced in the cells. So, there is an exchange of gases, respiratory gases, between the medium and the carbon dioxide formed in the cells, which is called as a external respiration, which is also called as a ventilation or breathing by some authors. But the real intention of respiration is not for the gases exchange. It is meant for the liberation of the energy. And this liberation of energy takes place other than this place. Once the oxygen entered into the cell, it is utilized by the cell for the oxidation of the food materials. In this process, energy is released. As this energy liberating process occurring at the cellular level, it is often called as a cellular respiration. So, it is called as a cellular respiration, which is also called as internal respiration, So, I think it is clear for you. What is external respiration? It is just a gaseous exchange between the medium, which may be in air or water, with the carbon dioxide formed in the cells at the same time. What is internal respiration? The oxygen that has entered into the cell is utilized for the oxidation of food materials. Okay. So, in this process, energy is released. So, respiration can be defined as a process that leads to liberation of energy. So, as this event is taking place at the cellular level, it is often described as cellular respiration. And the respiration is of two types: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Let us look into this. What is aerobic respiration? What is anaerobic respiration? The respiration which takes place in absence of oxygen is called as anaerobic respiration. Here there is incomplete oxidation of food materials will take place. Okay. So this is the lactic acid and this is the ethyl alcohol, or also called as ethanol. So in absence of oxygen, the food materials are partially oxidized and results in the less production of energy. So that is anaerobic respiration. Coming to the aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration. The respiration which takes place in the presence of oxygen is called as aerobic respiration. It involves the complete oxidation of food metals. It involves the complete oxidation of food metals. As a result, more amount of energy is made available to the cell. So that is aerobic respiration. So anaerobic respiration takes place in absence of oxygen, where we can see incomplete oxidation of food materials. In aerobic respiration takes place in presence of oxygen, where complete oxidation of food materials takes place. So that is about the introduction regarding the respiration and the types of respiration. Let us now look into the breathing mechanism. The breathing mechanism varies from animal to animals. It depends upon the habitat and their level of organization. If you see the protozoans and the lower invertebrates like sponges, cnidarians and flatworms, they respire with a simple process called diffusion. And some animals like spiders, scorpion, they respire with book lungs. Okay. And amphibians and the larvae of amphibians and fishes respire with gills. Some of the aquatic arthropods have a specialized gills for performing the respiration, even though some molluscans also. The terrestrial animals are provided with vascular bags called lungs for the performing the respiration. Okay. In case of earthworm, the skin will act as a respiratory organ. The respiration that takes place through the skin is called as a cutaneous respiration. So this moist skin performs a respiration and acts as a respiratory organ. In fact, it is not a respiratory organ, but the skin, as it is highly vascularized and moist in nature, it performs a function of the respiration. Such type of respiration is called as a cutaneous respiration. Okay. So that is about the various respiratory organs found in the different animals. Now, let us discuss about the human respiratory system. Okay, now we are discussing about the human respiratory system. The human respiratory system consists of external nostrils, also called as external nares, which leads into nasal chambers. The nasal chambers opens into the internal nostrils or internal nares, and these internal nostrils opens into nasopharynx. The nasopharynx leads into oropharynx. The oropharynx opens into the larynx through the glottis, so which opens into the trachea. In other words, the oropharynx opens into the trachea through the opening of the larynx called as a glottis. The trachea leads into bronchi, which leads into bronchioles. So, starting from the external nostrils to the bronchioles constitute conducting part. It forms conducting part. Let us look at the function of this conducting part. It removes the dust particles in the inspired air, or the air which we have taken into our body. So the air is made free from the dust particles, and not only that, it also helps in the humidification of the air. Okay, so that is the importance of the conducting. Let us look into the individual parts and their function. Okay, external nostrils. These are a pair of openings present above the upper lip. These are a pair of openings present above the upper lip. These external nostrils opens into nasal chambers. These nasal chambers are separated by a nasal septum. The two nasal chambers are separated by a nasal septum. Let us look into this nasal chamber. This is the nasal chamber, and this nasal chamber has three parts: anterior vestibular part, anterior vestibular part, middle respiratory part, and the posterior olfactory part. So, the nasal chamber is having three parts. What are the three parts? Anterior vestibular part, middle respiratory part, posterior olfactory part. The vestibular part is provided with hair and sebaceous glands. The vestibular part is provided with hair and sebaceous glands, and the respiratory part contains three twisted bony plates called as turbinales, also called as conchae. The middle respiratory part contains three twisted like this bony plates called as turbinales or conchae. The olfactory part is lined by olfactory epithelium. The name itself indicates that it is concerned with smell. Okay, let us look at the functions of these particular parts. As the vestibular part is provided with hair and sebaceous gland, it helps in removing the dust particles in the inspired air, or the inspired air is made free from the dust particles. Okay, the dust particles are trapped in this particular part. The respiratory part acts as a natural air conditioner. It humidifies the air. That's the reason it acts as a natural air conditioner. And the posterior part is olfactory part. And this nasal chambers leads into internal nostrils. So these are the internal nostrils. Okay. This is vulva. In fact, we have learned in the digestive system. These internal nostrils opens into nasopharynx. When we discussed about the pharynx, I told the pharynx is having three regions: nasopharynx, oropharynx, laropharynx. Nasopharynx lies above the soft palate. The internal nostrils opens into nasopharynx. And these nasopharynx leads into oropharynx. Okay. Nasopharynx leads into oropharynx. And this oropharynx opens into the trachea through the glottis of the larynx. Let us look about the larynx. Now we are discussing about the larynx. First of all, let us discuss about the structure of the larynx. Okay. Now we are discussing about the structure of the larynx. Larynx is a cartilaginous box which helps in the production of the sound. That is the reason why it is often called as a voice box of mammals. As it helps in the production of the sound, it is called as a voice box of mammals. It is made up of 9 cartilages. It is made up of 9 cartilages. They are thyroid, cricoid, epiglottis. These 3 cartilages are the unpaired cartilages. These 3 are unpaired cartilages. Let us see the paired cartilages. Arytenoids, cuneiform, cornicate cartilages. So these are the list of 9 cartilages found in the larynx. Thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage and epiglottis are the unpaired cartilages. Arytenoids and the cuneiform and cornicate cartilages are the paired cartilages. To make you concept more understandable, to make you easy the concept, to make the concept much more easy, and drawing a diagram. So keep it in mind. If we assume this is a thyroid cartilage, this is a ring-like cricoid cartilage. These are the pair of arytenoids. To these arytenoids, cornicate cartilages. Cornicate cartilages are small, a conical shaped nodule-like structures, which are also called as Santroni tips, which articulates means attached to the arytenoids. So these are arytenoids. These are cuneiform. So cornicate. And listen, these are cuneiform cartilages. connecting the thyroid cartilage with the arytenoids, there are vocal cords. So these are vocal cords. So the thyroid cartilage are connected to the arytenoids by vocal cords. Okay. There are two types of vocal cords: true vocal cords and false vocal cords. False vocal cords are just foldings of the mucous membrane. They are just foldings of the mucous membrane. That means mucous membranes are folded to form these vocal cords. They are actually not involved in the production of sound. So they does not have any role in the production of the sound. It is the true vocal cords are actually useful in the production of the sound. That is the reason why these vocal cords are called as a true vocal cords. So the vocal cords which are helpful in producing the sound are called as a true vocal cords. So the other vocal cords, they does not help in the production of the sound. They are often called as a false vocal cords. Okay. So sound is produced due to the vibration of the vocal cords. This thyroid cartilage has midventral prominence, that is called as Adam's apple. That is called as Adam's apple. So in the next video, we will discuss the other parts of the respiratory system.